What if Anakin fled instead of jumping to the high ground? Let's explore the depths of it in the video.
You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
Part of Anakin wants to do just that. Try it and strike Obi-Wan down. But despite his anger, he knows it's a huge gamble. Obi-Wan holds the high ground, and he feels the heat of the lava below. One touch could be disastrous. Instead, the Sith Apprentice does a saber throw at Obi-Wan. His former master's eyes widen as he parries the attack. While he's distracted, Anakin takes the opportunity to leap down toward the side and run off. Obi-Wan tries to chase after him, but Anakin is too far away. He retrieves his lightsaber and rushes towards his ship. He hurries to the landing pad and barely notices the second ship there until Palpatine steps forward, looking ready to fight. He glares down at his apprentice and orders him to halt with a wave of his hand. Surprisingly, it works, as Anakin pauses and bows before him.
Lord Vader, you return to me broken and defeated. Where is Kenobi?
He escaped.
Escaped? You were sent to destroy him. You were sent to eliminate the Jedi threat.
I don't care about Kenobi. Padme is dying. You promised me the power to save her. Palpatine's expression twists into something almost amused, but his tone drips with mockery. Suddenly he flicks his wrist and Anakin flies back against the wall. Snarling, he pushes back against this power. He nearly breaks free before Palpatine waves his hand and shards of metal fly towards him. Rather than kill Anakin, they form makeshift bonds, holding him in place as they lock onto his legs and wrists.
And why should I grant you such power? You have failed me, Lord Vader. You have proven unworthy of the gift I offered you. Weakness must be punished.
The words are a dagger to Anakin's chest, sharper than any lightsaber. His rage surges uncontrollably, a raw primal force that bursts outward, cracking the Durasteel floor beneath him.
You will not take her from me.
However, Palpatine casually strolls forward and taps his forehead. Suddenly, Anakin finds himself in the medical center where Padme is. He watches in horror as she fights for her life, just as she did in his dreams. Only this time, Anakin knows that this isn't a dream. This is reality, and she truly is dying. His screams are nearly drowned out by Palpatine's laughter. By her side are Obi-Wan and the medical droids who do their best to tend to her. However, Palpatine cuts the link off before he can see the end of the process. Anakin drops to his knees and rushes towards Palpatine, his eyes burning with rage. He ignites his lightsaber and rushes at him, but the Emperor is ready. A torrent of force lightning explodes from his fingertips. It strikes Anakin head-on, sending him hurtling backwards. He crashes onto the ground, his body racked with pain, his vision swimming.
Pathetic. You are no Sith. You are a sniffling, love-sick fool.
Anakin struggles to rise, his fury burning brighter, but Palpatine strikes him again and again until he stays on his hands and knees.
I should end you here and now, but death would be a mercy. No, you will live with your failure. You will serve me where your incompetence can still be useful. On the front lines. Perhaps there you can finally prove yourself, or die forgotten.
With that, Palpatine walks back to his ship, leaving Anakin to find his way home. Just as the Emperor promises, Anakin finds himself on the war-torn battlefields of the Outer Rim, far from the corridors of power, far from Padme. He isn't even sent to any major front lines. Palpatine humiliates him further by having him sent to the desolate frontiers, where he faces off against a handful of CIS holdouts or some Republic troops who refuse to pledge alliance to the Empire. He commands his legions of loyal clone troopers, the remnants of the 501st, who can still call him General. But despite all his failings and all the heartbreak he suffered, his men remain loyal to him. They follow him without question. Their trust is unshaken, even as he doubts himself. Commander Appo remains by his side, and while he doesn't pry into Anakin's struggles, he makes it a point to stay by his general's side, providing support. His silent presence is appreciated by Anakin, who comes to rely on him just as he did to Rex. In a way, it helps drown out the whispers of the dark side and the unrelenting guilt that gnaws at his soul. Palpatine's promises, mockery, and insults seem to deafen with his clones. Instead, he sees more clearly what he truly desires now: revenge. For the first few weeks, Anakin does Palpatine's bidding, ridding the galaxy of the rebels who challenge the Empire. It gives him no joy or even gets his blood boiling. It is something that simply must be done. Through this information, Anakin hears reports of clones starting to have doubts about their loyalty and defecting. At first, Anakin thinks nothing of these claims, but he soon notices changes in his clones as well. After the chaos of Order 66 wears off, some clones report having nightmares of that night in the Jedi Temple. They soon all begin regretting their decisions and are haunted by the guilt of what they did. Not only that, but there are reports of some clones even defecting or being detained for questioning orders. While Anakin doesn't take the supposed clone rebellion seriously, he now begins to truly consider the possibilities. Through the clones, Anakin sees a chance to strike back at Palpatine. While part of this is his revenge, Anakin cannot help but feel a sense of loyalty to his troops, who are now the only beings he feels some attachment to. Anakin finds his chance as he places a tracking chip on one of the transport ships supposedly carrying renegade clones and arrives just as an attack is conducted. Anakin watches from the shadows of his transport as the chaos unfolds below. An enemy ship zooms past them, disabling its weapons and launching a boarding craft into one of the airlocks. He notes the precision of the assault. These are no ordinary insurgents. They're clones. He looks into the security footage of the ship and sees a familiar figure leading the clone rebels, Captain Rex. For a brief moment, Anakin hesitates, thinking about his time serving alongside him. The present reasserts itself as the rebels breach the detention block, intent on freeing the clones imprisoned within. This is where Anakin strikes. His ship docks onto the transport, and his clones quickly surround the rebels as they surround Rex and his men.
Rex, General Skywalker, you've become bold, leading raids against the Empire, freeing prisoners. Do you have any idea what kind of target you've painted on your back? You think I care? We're not going to stand by while the Empire enslaves what's left of us. Then it's a good thing I'm not here to stop you.
Anakin gestures for his men, and they suddenly turn their weapons on the stormtrooper crew. Before any of them can react, the clones cut them down.
I'll be blunt. The Empire is flawed. Palpatine's vision is twisted, and his methods are unsustainable. Among them is his torment of the clones. Our causes are the same, and I can help you.
And you think I trust you? After everything you've done? General Kenobi told me everything you did.
You don't have to trust me. But think about your men, Rex. Think about what the Empire will do to them. I can give you a way to hit the Empire where it hurts.
Rex sees the opportunity to make a huge difference in his rebellion. He agrees to these terms and is true to his word. Anakin begins providing information to the Resistance. This gives Rex the locations of prisoners, reports of dissenters, and weak points in Imperial defenses. All of that intel proves critical as Rex can launch raids and begin freeing his brothers, challenging the Imperial militia and hurting Palpatine's reputation. Tarkin and Rampart have often talked about how obsolete the clones are, but here they are managing to outfox the military and challenge their control of the galaxy. Anakin enjoys the sight of Palpatine trying to explain these reversals to the Senate. Even if it has no real opposition, it still is an embarrassment. To placate Palpatine, Anakin begins dealing with other rebel cells to make his defection less obvious. These do not fully appease the Emperor, but keep him quiet for the time being. As Anakin searches for more information, he stumbles across the location of where Palpatine is taking many of the clone prisoners, Tantus. But it seems far more than a simple prison. Although the information is classified, Anakin pieces together bits of data that suggest he's conducting experiments to try and expand his lifespan. Anakin sees this as a perfect opportunity to get back at him. If Palpatine took Padme from him, then he could take something in return. The clone rebels carry out this mission, and not only do they succeed in freeing the captured clones, but they destroy all the related data, ensuring that Palpatine's progress is halted for years to come. This results in an uproar in the Senate, as it is one of the most daring and destructive attacks yet. Palpatine is left furious at the loss of his precious data, leaving him blaming Anakin for it and ordering Anakin to meet him.
The destruction of the depot was no ordinary act of rebellion. This was deliberate, targeted.
The timing, the precision. There is no doubt that this was a betrayal from within. And you were in the region when it happened. Convenient, isn't it?
I tracked the rebels to the facility, but they snuck in before I could stop them. The stormtroopers assigned to defend the depot were overwhelmed.
And yet there are no survivors, no prisoners. The rebels escaped unscathed, and the facility burned to the ground. How do you explain this failure?
Perhaps you should blame your doctor. Anakin feels the weight of suspicion in Palpatine's voice. He knows the Emperor doesn't believe him, but without evidence, Palpatine can't act publicly. At least, not yet.
You have failed me before, Lord Vader, and yet I spared your life. But failure has its limits. If I do not need you...
The Emperor raises a hand, and a bolt of Force lightning strikes Anakin square in the chest. He stumbles back, but Anakin weathers the attack and ignites his lightsaber to block the attack. Soon enough, he's stepping forward to confront him. Palpatine chuckles at this.
You've grown stronger.
Go on then. Kill me if you dare.
No, Lord Vader. Death would be too simple. You are far more valuable alive. For now, you will make amends for this failure. You will hunt down Obi-Wan Kenobi and end him. If you fail, the entire 501st will suffer the consequences of your incompetence. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, my master. Later, Anakin sits alone in his chambers, his fists clenched as the Emperor's words replay in his mind. The thought of the 501st, his men, the only people he still values being punished for his failure gnaws at him. Desperation and anger swirl within him, and for the first time in years, he feels a pang of fear. He activates his holocom and contacts Rex. When the projection flickers to life, Anakin bows his head. I need your help.
Funny. Last time we talked, you were the one giving the orders.
This isn't about me. It's about my men. The Emperor threatened to punish the 501st if I didn't find Obi-Wan. I know you've got contacts. People who can help me track him down. Rex's expression pales. Though he doesn't care for Anakin, his fingers clench at the thought of the 501st, his brothers, being punished. It only confirms everything he's known about the Empire.
I'll reach out to my contacts. But don't think for a second that I trust you. This is for my brothers.
Days later, through Rex's network of informants, he comes back with information. Ahsoka and Bail Organa talked during Padme's funeral, and they mentioned Obi-Wan hiding on Tatooine. Anakin considers the possibilities and determines that he is likely heading out to his stepfather's farm. The twin suns beat down mercilessly on the barren landscape as Anakin strides across the dunes. As he walks, his mind thinks back to all the memories of his past. He recalls his mother being tortured by the Tusken Raiders, his days as a slave, and his fateful duel with Obi-Wan. He cannot help but feel like everything that happened had led up to this moment, to fulfill the Emperor's command. But as the sun begins to set, the Lars homestead comes into view, a collection of modest structures nestled into the earth. Anakin pauses at the ridge overlooking the farm, his eyes scanning the area. Memories surge, unbidden to the surface. Shmi's smile, her voice pleading with him to let go of his anger. He pushes the thoughts aside and reaches for his lightsaber. He is about to enter the house when a familiar voice calls out to him.
Anakin.
Anakin halts and turns to see Obi-Wan standing a few meters away. His face is much older, but his stance is as ready as ever. The Jedi's hand rests lightly on his lightsaber hilt.
You shouldn't have come here. These people are not your concern.
You're right. I'm only here for you. A hint of surprise crosses Obi-Wan's face, but he suppresses it and reaches for his weapon.
Then you will return empty-handed.
However, Anakin is already springing forward, lightsaber humming to life as he lunges at him. I'm afraid that's not an option. Obi-Wan is ready, though, and parries the attack. He redirects it down towards the ground and kicks Anakin's knees from under him, sending him falling over. He slashes his lightsaber down and tries to drive it down into his chest. However, Anakin is already moving and slides away, punching his former master with enough force to send him reeling. His head snaps back and Anakin follows with a slash. The old Jedi barely manages to twist aside. When he strikes again, Obi-Wan bats it aside.
You always have a choice, Anakin, but you've spent years convincing yourself otherwise.
Anakin snarls and unleashes a flurry of swings. The attacks rain down on him, fueled by his desperation and fury, which almost cracks Obi-Wan's defenses. Yet he holds firm and counters with a slice across the neck. It only nicks him, but it is enough to further enrage him. Obi-Wan can see the desperation in his friend's eyes as they battle. It mixes in with his anger and makes his attacks more careless. When Anakin's movements begin to slow, Obi-Wan takes the chance to counterattack. His lightsaber whirls in a blistering strike. They are quick and precise, and Anakin is unable to stand against them and nearly falls over. Obi-Wan takes the chance to unleash a burst of force, sending a gust of sand flying in Anakin's face. However, at the last second, Anakin sidesteps. His surprise changes into fury as he roars and knocks Obi-Wan to the ground. Anakin holds his lightsaber to his throat and tries to push it down, but Obi-Wan holds it back with his hands.
I have to do this for my men.
Your men? What are you talking about?
The Emperor ordered me to hunt you down. If I don't, the 501st will pay the price. I won't let that happen. Not to them.
So you've returned to finish what you started on Mustafar. Is that it? More excuses? More destruction in the name of duty?
Anakin's grip tightens, and he tries to push it down, but Obi-Wan's strength belies his age.
You betrayed us, Anakin. You betrayed the Jedi, the Republic, everything you swore to protect, and now you've come to finish your betrayal.
I don't care. I won't allow my men to suffer the consequences. They're all I have left.
Obi-Wan falters, his expression softening as the words sink in. He steps back, holding his saber defensively, but no longer pressing the attack. Their sabers clash again, but the fight slows, the intensity fading as doubt creeps into Obi-Wan's strikes. He sees the cracks in Anakin's armor. Not physical, but emotional. There isn't the same man consumed by rage on Mustafar. There's something else driving him now. Something almost human.
Anakin, this isn't the way. You're not saving them. You're only binding yourself tighter to the Emperor's leash.
What choice do I have, Obi-Wan? Tell me. What choice do I have?
You always have a choice, Anakin. It's not too late. I can help. We can help.
We?
Suddenly, Obi-Wan steps back and deactivates his lightsaber. He bows his head and gestures for Anakin to follow him. Confused, but obeying, Anakin walks into the homestead alongside Obi-Wan. Inside, an infant boy is sobbing in a crib, while Beru tries desperately to calm him. The old Jedi smiles and gestures for them to calm down, as he takes Anakin over to him.
Anakin, meet your son.
The wind howls around them, carrying the weight of this revelation. Anakin stares at him, feeling his legs shaking and threatening to give way. He reaches out with a trembling hand, and Beru reluctantly hands him over. Instantly, the child begins to calm down and smiles at him. Soon, Anakin's smiles turn to cries as he begins to break down before him. A hand pats his shoulder, and Obi-Wan looks down, smiling sadly.
Luke isn't the only one. There is another, kept hidden away from here. I can take you to her after this business is settled. In the meantime, my allies can help you.
Thank you, Master.
I don't offer this help freely. When this is over, you must face justice for what you've done.
I know.
Obi-Wan nods, and the two begin formulating a plan. One thing Obi-Wan insists on is that if they are to meet with Palpatine, they must meet on Alderaan. Anakin sends a message saying he's tracked down his master and has his head. They agree to a meeting point on neutral ground. The Emperor is pleased with these terms and promises to go there himself, bringing the clones with him. The pristine blue skies of Alderaan contrasts the darkened shapes hovering in the planet's atmosphere. Among these ships is Anakin's flagship, which has been commandeered by Palpatine. With them are the remnants of the 501st. But they do not accompany Palpatine to the surface. Instead, Palpatine takes an honor guard of stormtroopers, hundreds of them that march through the city streets where citizens watch with a mixture of fear. This section was done as one final insult to Anakin, denying his men the honor of being in the presence of their emperor. Palpatine approaches the square where he is supposed to meet Anakin. As promised, the Jedi stands there, with his hood pulled over his head. In his hand is a bundle.
At last, the failed apprentice has avenged himself. Very well then, let's get this business over with. Where is the head you promised me?
The figure throws the bundle forward, where a head rolls out. But Palpatine's smug expression fades as he recognizes the head. It was the Imperial official he had assigned to command the 501st. Suddenly, the figure reveals himself, and Obi-Wan smiles.
Hello there. I'm afraid my head is still attached to my body.
Suddenly, Palpatine's comlink erupts as officers report that a group of clones have infiltrated the ship and are now attacking them, the rebels. But before Palpatine can give further instructions, the transmission cuts off. Anakin charges down the corridor, slicing through the guards as he and Rex make their way to the bridge. They gather whatever clones they can find and urge them to join the coup. Word spreads quickly of General Skywalker's return and Captain Rex's help. Soon the entire 501st is up in mutiny. Snarling, Palpatine rushes forward to Obi-Wan, who brings his lightsaber up and then pushes him back. Their weapons clash in an explosion of sparks and energy. But as Obi-Wan ducks under a quick slash, he counters with a force push that throws the Emperor back. With communications to the ship cut off, he instead reaches out for his honor guard to direct them back to the ship. However, an explosion behind him is all the answer he needs, as Bail Organa organizes the Alderaan security forces to help hold the stormtroopers at bay. Snarling in anger, Obi-Wan rushes forward and swings at him. Palpatine sidesteps the attack and fires a burst of lightning, putting the Jedi Master on the defensive. But this doesn't last long as there is movement behind him, and Anakin leaps out from one nearby building and swings his lightsaber. Palpatine rolls aside and glares at them, watching as the two men approach him.
So, my failed apprentice finally shows himself.
I brought you his head, as promised.
Funny. Perhaps yours will join his too.
He lunges at them, sweeping his lightsaber in a wide cut that forces the two of them to split apart and attack. Anakin and Obi-Wan both rush at him in opposite directions. Despite that, Palpatine continues to halt their attack, splitting his defenses and slowing him down slightly, but managing to halt their attacks. The younger of the Jedi takes the lead, swinging and slashing his lightsaber while Obi-Wan defends, covering Anakin's blind spots too. Palpatine can sense the anger in his attacks, but this is less like a controlled burn than a wildfire. Laughing, Palpatine rushes at him and unleashes the dark side in full force. The aura surrounds him like a veil, feeding into him with a burst of attacks that put Anakin on the defensive.
You never learned to truly unleash your rage.
He swings from his hip and sends Anakin stumbling back.
You are weak. You cannot stand against me.
Suddenly, Obi-Wan jumps between them and blocks the attack intended for Anakin. He pivots and slashes Palpatine across the side and then kicks him back.
This is where you are wrong. Anakin fights for something more powerful than just power itself. More than fear. That is something you will never understand.
You are right. I could never understand such weakness.
His lightsaber moves like a blur to crack Obi-Wan's defenses and manages to strike him with enough force to throw him back. But as Palpatine moves to finish him off, Anakin throws off the attack with the force. He begins to step forward, his lightsaber stabbing at Palpatine. The Emperor blocks the attack, but he's surprised to feel the strength in the attack as it throws him off. Without a word, Anakin rushes forward and rains down attacks against Palpatine, who struggles to defend against these attacks. But the Sith Apprentice is relentless. He appears like a wraith, expressionless and determined as he cuts through his defenses with ease. As their lightsabers flash, Anakin hooks his leg behind Palpatine's and throws him off the ground. The Chancellor hits the ground and gasps, looking up, just as Anakin drives his lightsaber into his chest. With the Emperor dead, the rest of the Imperial forces fall apart. The first are the ships the 501st capture, and they turn their weapons to Palpatine's escort, forcing them to surrender. This places Bail Organa in a strong position, as with the 501st and Anakin supporting him, he can secure his position and begin dismantling the Empire. True to his promise, Anakin voluntarily turns himself in, confessing everything he did under Palpatine's name. He is perfectly willing to accept the consequences, but the new Chancellor offers an alternative. There are still many issues with insurgents, CIS holdouts, and Imperial loyalists. Anakin is offered a chance to redeem himself by dealing with these threats, a task he takes with dignity. When he isn't leading his troops in battle, he begins spending time with his children, training them to serve the new generation of Jedi. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.